Make your routines effortless. Come up with a plan by picking a day of week, time of day, and where the routine will take place, and watch how much easier it is to show up consistently. Locking in on our calendar, we no longer wait for motivation to hit us to complete the routine. We just follow the schedule and get to it when it arrives. Today, we're going to dive into the 4 steps to make any and all routines effortless. Let's fire it up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bob Bay. Each week on these solo podcasts, we dive into topics around lifestyle, habits, and well-being to help you stay on track. Now, do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. This is just my bearded wisdom that I hope brings value to you. Now, if you enjoy this episode at any moment in time, please screenshot this episode on whatever platform you're listening in on. Post it to your IG story. Tag me at Bob-A. That's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's and a Y. Share the podcast in your IG story. Let me know, what was the biggest takeaway? How did this episode change your perspective? I'd be very, very curious to hear and learn. So please screenshot this episode today on whatever platform you're listening in on and let me know what you thought of the episode. I have a very exciting announcement. My free simple habit guide is now available. So many people struggle to make new habits their reality. So I've created a guide to get people from point A to point B with ease. It is a guide. I lay out 5 steps that I have found to be crucial in helping me add any new habit into my life. So I want to do the same for you. Whether it's been recording 400 plus podcasts, training for marathons, going 75 days without alcohol, 100 days of consistent sweat, I have found frameworks that have helped me stay consistent and accountable. If you are interested in the free simple habit guide, check out the link in the description of this episode and you can download it. And I hope you guys and gals find value in it. Effortless routines. I just started reading Effortless by Greg McKeown last week, and it inspired me to want to dive into this topic today. A few years ago, I read his first book, Essentialism, which really taught me less but better. The intent of the book is to help people get clear on the few things that matter most to them and go all in on them. So instead of spreading 10% of your energy across 10 different things, what would happen if you spread 25% of your energy across just 4 different things? Go deeper rather than shallower. That was the concept of essentialism. Now being 60-ish pages into his new book thus far, it picks up right where essentialism left off, which is this book is all about how to make the things that you have determined are most important to you, how do you make them effortless to execute, right? We always face resistance, whether it is showing up to work out consistently, eating a healthy diet, carving out time to call our loved ones often when we're just busy, etc. But there are ways in which we can make these habits easier to perform. In my opinion, without routines, it is impossible to stay consistent with any habit. When something is a routine, it is a non-negotiable and something that we prioritize over other things. It also means we intentionally carve out space to complete the routine on a consistent basis. When I've trained for running a marathon in the past, I always did my runs in the morning. Aside from the physical and mental benefits of jumpstarting my day with a run or the solitude that I got from being on the roads when it was quiet and empty because everybody else was sleeping and just getting their day started, I ran in the morning because I didn't want any excuse for me not to get in that training day. If it was later in the day, in the late afternoon, a lot of things could cause me to miss it. But when it was the first thing that I had to do every day, it was impossible to skip. That's why I preach this philosophy of you win the morning, you win the day. Because when we prioritize the things that matter most to us first thing in the morning, we cross them off our daily to-do list, and then we feel like we've already accomplished something, and it's just still the morning, which is a great way to create momentum for the day ahead. I want to get the most important things accomplished as soon as possible, not because I want to rush them. I just want to make sure that they actually get done and that I don't come up with some excuse later in their day for why I can't cross off that item on the to-do list. So through trial and error, I've been able to make other routines effortless as well. When I write podcast scripts, when I record podcasts with guests, when I go grocery shopping, when I get a haircut, all of these routines have become effortless in my life because I figured out the best days of the week and times of day that it is easiest for me to complete them. By the time it comes around to doing them, I know I'm in the best mental space to complete the task because through trial and error, I've cracked the code for myself. It is important to note that everyone's routine is unique and one of a kind. Today, I'll discuss a few steps that are very high level strategies that anyone can implement, but I really do believe it is a trial and error for every single person. What works for me might not work for you and vice versa, and that's totally fine. Neither is right nor wrong. It is just on us to figure out what works. So 3 steps to create effortless routines. 1, pick a day of the week. Monday, I record solo podcasts like I am right now. I like kicking off the week recording pods on topics that are relevant in my life. Thursday and Friday, I record guest podcasts. I've found that guests are, very busy in the beginning of the week, but tend to be much more flexible and calmer by the end of the week. Monday through Friday, I try to get in at least 60 minutes of sweat per day. There's no question about it. I wouldn't be able to operate the way I do daily without this. By picking a day of week to complete the routine, it helps me stay accountable to getting the work done when that day arrives. I'm not procrastinating and pushing things off till tomorrow or the next day or the day after that. When the day arrives to complete a certain task, I do it. I can also prepare accordingly and prioritize what needs to get done today based on what day of the week it is and what I may have coming up in the next few days. Now, exceptions can be made, but 99% of the time, my routines fall on the day of the week that I know works best for me. So the first step to create effortless routines, pick a day or days of the week that work best to complete the routine. It is totally up to you. Just make it easy, the easiest possible day to complete the task. Number 2, choose a time of day. Solo podcasts, I record in the morning like I am right now. I do this because I usually have the most energy and I want to record the podcast when I'm feeling at my peak. Guest podcasts are usually based on the guest schedule, but I try to do it early afternoon as they usually tend to be more awake for the conversation rather than jumping on a podcast with them at 9 a.m. I used to thrive off of morning workouts, but I recently have switched to evenings and have enjoyed that much more. And a side note that I want to make, part of making routines effortless is always being able to pivot and make changes when necessary. I was the biggest morning sweat advocate until recently, and I'm not sure why. I'm assuming it's just maybe needing to change the routine or just getting a little bit burnt out. But instead of pushing myself to do the workout when I'm not motivated or excited to do it, I've just switched the time of day that feels right for me to complete it, which has been a game changer. So choosing a time of day to complete the routine is based on personal preference and personal experiences. I have found that I'm much more creative in the morning and analytical in the afternoon, so my schedule reflects that. Once you find a time of day that works best to complete a task, stick with it. One last thing I want to say is I truly believe that every single task, habit, routine, it hits differently depending on if you do it in the beginning part of the day, the middle part, the end, or the evening. So be open-minded to testing and trying to see when are you most excited to do that routine. Quick break from today's episode, and then we'll get right back to it. Today's episode is brought to you by the greatest matcha brand in the world, Tenzo Tea. I have been drinking Tenzo since the top of 2021, and it has been an absolute game changer. You want to know how? I'll tell you right now. Every single day I drink this twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. It gives me sustained energy throughout the day. I feel mentally clear. I feel sharp. I feel focused. I don't feel the coffee crash. I also just feel like my body just does better with matcha in it versus caffeine, coffee, and it's just been a game changer. It's just a product that I've been using twice a day for over a year and a half. And that's why I've been promoting it for such a long time on this podcast, because I genuinely believe in it. 64% of Americans that do drink coffee every day pay the price with dehydration, jitters, anxiety, and headaches. That's 64%. Switching out the morning coffee for a matcha helps you stay level-headed, focused, and avoid the coffee crash. I personally love mixing my matcha with a little bit of almond milk. It's more of a latte and it tastes really, really smooth. You can also just mix it with water. It depends on what you're looking for. Each half teaspoon has 36 milligrams of caffeine, so plenty of caffeine to jumpstart your day. I'm a savage. I do 3 scoops every time. It has natural occurring L-theanine, and it switches your brainwaves to be focused and meditative state, which is why it works so good. So if you're interested, head over to tenzot.co. Use my promo code TheBeardedMan, all one word. That's 25% off your order. Once again, that's tenzot.co, TheBeardedMan, all one word. This is a product that I will continue to use. I think you guys and gals should give it a try to see if it helps you stay focused, helps you feel energized throughout the day, and helps you just get shit done, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to crush through our to-do list and keep it moving. tenzot.co, TheBeardedMan, one word, 25% off. I hope you enjoy it. Now back to today's episode. So, second step to create effortless routines: choose a time of day that feels best to complete it. It will vary based on what that routine is. So continue to test and try different times until you find that sweet spot. And number 3, decide where the routine will take place. We've picked the day of the week and the time of day. Now all we need to do is pick where it will take place. For both solo podcasts and guest pods, I've recorded them at my house, so that's a given. The weekday workouts can change. If it's lifting weights, it's at my house. If it's hot yoga, it's usually at Shefa on Main Street here in Venice, Santa Monica area. If it's running, it's usually on the west side of LA. Knowing where to go with any routine is just as important as establishing the day of the week and what time. So for example, if you've decided you want to work out at 6 p.m. every day at your gym, then by 5:45, you need to be in your car headed to the gym so you can start that routine on time, okay? Because we know where we're supposed to be and what time, we're able to plan ahead of time, which helps us build momentum for mentally and physically showing up that day to the routine. Maybe there's a day that you can't make it to the gym because your car's in the shop, or you have a dinner at 7 p.m., so you decide to work out at your house. That's totally fine and acceptable. We have full permission to make adjustments with where this routine takes place at any moment in time. Or maybe on that day that you have the 7 p.m. dinner, you decide, I'm going to do a morning workout to get it done. And although I might not love the morning workouts, I'm going to be okay with going this one time of the month because I know I have something that I need to do later in the day. Part of the reason for establishing where we are completing the routine ahead of time is to just help us get in the mindset that when we enter this space of where it will be completed, we are ready to do so. So when I sit down in this chair to record these podcasts, I know it is time to lock in. So the third step to create effortless routines: decide where the routine will take place ahead of time so that you know exactly where to be, and it will help you mentally and physically show up prepared. If adjustments on location need to be made, pivot accordingly. To recap, routines are our personal accountability partner to consistently show up and work on our habits, goals, passion, projects, etc. In order to make these routines effortless, we need to pay attention to when we are most excited to complete these routines and schedule them into our lives respectfully. That way, when it comes to get to work, we are setting ourselves up for success to show up and get it done. 3 steps to create effortless routines. 1, pick a day or days of the week that works best to complete the routine. It is totally up to you. Just make it easiest possible day to complete the task. Number 2, choose a time of day that feels best to complete it. It will vary based on what the routine is, so continue to test and try different things until you find that sweet spot of what time it works best. 3, decide where the routine will take place ahead of time so you know exactly where to be, and it will help you mentally and physically show up prepared. If adjustments on location need to be made, pivot accordingly. Challenge for the listeners: take the next 10 minutes within the next 24 hours and consider some of your routines. Do you just do them when you feel like it? Do you notice you enjoy doing certain routines more depending on the time of day or the day of week you complete them? Is there a certain place you find helps make you most comfortable to drop in and get into that flow? If possible, schedule out these routines into your life and know the day of week, the time of day, and where to do them ahead of time. And I promise it will help you stay accountable and consistent. Community questions. This is coming from the Stay Dialed In community. We have a question from Jordan Tarver. When do you know it is time to change your routine? That's a great question. When you're consistently not enjoying the process, that's the number one moment when you realize red flag, something needs to change. There are days that I wake up that I don't want to work out. Maybe I don't want to record this podcast. Maybe I don't want to create, etc. And that's perfectly human. Not every single day we're going to show up and be a superstar. But like I've mentioned before, when I was feeling resistance to work out in the morning every single day, I knew something needed to change. It wasn't just a one day, maybe 2 days in a row, I'm just not feeling it. It was beginning to feel like every single day I was having this issue, this resistance. So that's exactly what I did. I changed the time of day that I worked out, and it made a huge difference. Now, if that didn't change, maybe it just would have been what I was doing for workouts. Maybe I needed to give lifting weights a break or running a break or hot yoga a break. But I found pretty quickly that all it was just changing the time of day. What's also helped me when I feel bored or burnt out of doing a routine is I'll pause for 60 seconds before I start, and I practice gratitude for having the ability to do X routine today. It's very easy to just check things off our to-do list and keep it moving. But when we take a moment to recognize that there are a lot of things that could have happened today that would have stopped me from completing this routine, it can excite and inspire us to get back into it and almost make it feel like it's that first time again. So that's a great question from Jordan Tarver. Sarah Gleason, how to stay consistent when something different pops up in life? Great question. Give yourself permission to make pivots and adjustments as necessary. So when life throws something unexpected at you that you did not anticipate, I think you've got two options. One, move the routine to a different time that day. Or two, skip it today and pick up where you left off the next time that you do it. It took me a long time to fully accept this mindset because I used to get so bent out of shape if I had to miss a podcast, a workout, an opportunity, etc. And here's the biggest secret to success from what I've studied, listened to, and learned. Success comes from consistent effort over a period of time. It is not from today's effort alone. A wall isn't built by laying one brick. It's built from laying consistent bricks. Therefore, it is completely fine to skip or miss a day here and there. Allow it to happen, especially when it is out of our control. Just don't make it a habit or excuse to always miss it. Then that would be a problem. Sometimes the day we have to skip can be a mental or physical rest day, which is extremely healthy and refreshing. Just remember, so long as we stay consistent over a period of time, we will see progress. All right, this week's pod review. If you want to be a pod review, I'm pulling this directly from the iTunes podcast app. If you go on the iTunes podcast app, scroll to the bottom, you can leave a one-word, one-sentence review. This week's podcast review comes from Leighton Hope. Shout out to Leighton. The title of the review is Growth Mindset. Arguably two of my favorite words, so thank you. 5 out of 5 stars. Let's go. Love to see that. The review says, I'm a newer listener to the podcast, and I've listened to every podcast release since starting. Let's go. Love that. I find Bobby to be extremely relatable and inspiring. Keep doing your thing. G, with the emoji of shaking hands. Lane, greatly appreciate it. Not sure how you found the podcast, but thank you for taking the time to listen. The fact that you're finding it relatable, inspiring, entertaining, enjoyable, whatever it is, fires me up because these are purely just ideas that I have. I record them, I put it out there to the world, and I pray that people find value in it. So Super excited to hear you are enjoying it, and I greatly, greatly appreciate you listening. If you'd like to be the pod review next week, head over to the iTunes podcast review. Like I said, scroll to the bottom, leave a one-word, one-sentence review. If you're a Spotify listener, you can leave a 1 to 5 star review there. Or if you're listening on YouTube, the best thing you can do is subscribe or just leave a review in the comments section. And I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you guys and gals enjoyed this specific episode today, please screenshot this episode, post it to your IG story, tag me at Bob A. That's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. And let me know, how did this episode change your perspective? Maybe you're going to approach routines a little bit differently. How about the word effortless? Does that change the approach of routines a little bit differently? It's like setting us up for success when we make things effortless. It's not about showing up to the routine and not putting in the effort. It's about making the process to getting to the start of the routine for that day, making that whole process to getting there to the starting line effortless. So I'd be really curious to know how you guys and gals enjoyed this episode. Once again, friendly reminder, my free simple habit guide is available. 5 steps to help you get from point A to point B. The link is in the description. You can check it out there. And that is it. That's episode 197. Create effortless routines. Plan ahead by picking a time, day of week, and place to complete it. It's the Bearded Man Podcast. See ya!